Okay. We are so glad you're here. As we're getting started, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know if you're representing a particular school or organization, or where you're from. To introduce myself, hi, I'm Shannon Hake. I'm primarily a bike bus participant and fangirl. Secondarily, I'm the Oakland office director at Tool Design. Tool Design is a planning and design firm that supports the ACTC Safe Routes to School program, and we're really excited to convene this panel to learn more about some of the amazing work happening right here in Alameda County. Denise, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks everybody for joining us today or using this resource in the future whenever you have a chance to get this pre-recorded panel presentation. I'm Denise Turner. I am the program manager for the Safe Routes to School program for Alameda County Transportation Commission. I look forward to sharing a little bit more briefly, but I definitely want to get us moving to the panelists. We can move to the next slide now.
Great. So today we're going to kick off the webinar with a brief introduction and overview of the Alameda County Safe Routes to School program and Bike Month in general. Then we're going to introduce you to three panelists who are doing really amazing things in their communities and building excitement for Bike Month in three different parts of Alameda County. So we've structured most of this webinar as interactive. We'd love to hear your questions for these panelists as we go along. We'll be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions as the panelists are presenting, please let us know. Please put them in the chat, and we would be happy to ask them later on. Few housekeeping notes. We're recording this webinar for those who can't participate in real time. But if you're here live, you're welcome to submit questions using the chat feature. We will read those submitted questions aloud during the question and answer session. In the meantime, closed captioning is available on the Zoom toolbar. So with those notes out of the way, I will hand it off to Denise to introduce the Alameda County Safe Routes to School program.
Okay, that's my favorite thing to do. So the Alameda County Safe Routes to Schools program aims to shift student transportation and travel modes to active and shared transportation, as well as to increase safe travel behaviors and support the advancement of safety countermeasures surrounding kindergarten through 12th grade public school campuses around Alameda County in California. This countywide program models a national approach that promotes and encourages safe walking, biking, carpooling, and transit use for the trip to and from school. And we work to accomplish these goals through hands-on education, encouragement activities, and outreach to school communities alongside school safety assessments and customized transportation engineering, technical assistance to schools, school districts, and city and jurisdiction staff. The program launched in 2006 at 2 schools and has grown to this year being over 300 schools. And we begin our 20th program year in the fall of 2026 with 311 enrolled schools. Next slide, please. So the Safe Routes program is administered by the Alameda County Transportation Commission, and our mission is to plan, fund, and deliver transportation programs and projects that expand access and improve mobility to foster a vibrant and livable Alameda County. The agency is governed by a 22-member commission and is staffed by team members such as myself. And so on behalf of the agency, it's my role as a Safe Routes to School program manager to administer the program funding streams and to oversee program operations through several consultant and sub-consultant firms and to drive innovation and sustainable growth in this countywide public service. So this webinar is sort of a demonstration of our efforts to do that and to also uphold the commission's interest in serving with intentionality toward inclusion through an equitable lens. You'll hear more about these really cool out of the box ways that our panelists have incorporated fun biking year round, but definitely from the perspective of National Bike Month. And it's important that we receive from you like those challenging questions because this is offering a space not only for yourself, but in the future for folks to reference the ways that we've helped to support and grapple with the challenges of, in particular, equipping families to be able to enjoy bike riding, given that being fully equipped in riding bikes can be a financial challenge and in some cases unattainable. So you'll hear more from us and our wonderful panelists on these cool ideas. I'm switching it back to you, Shannon.
Thanks, Denise. So we've convened the webinar, as Denise mentioned, to celebrate Bike Month, the month of May. It's a month-long celebration of biking, walking, rolling, and it's nationwide. It's across the U.S. Events can be organized by local governments, community groups, schools, employers, advocacy organizations, with the overall intention of encouraging active transportation, building community, and promoting safer and more accessible streets. You're probably familiar with Bike to Work Day or Bike to Wherever Day, which we celebrated here in the Bay Area just a week ago. But celebrations of Bike Month can take many different forms, from walking school buses or bike buses. We'll hear about those today. Traffic gardens, where young riders can build confidence in their bike skills on miniature streets. Or bike education and repair events where people interested in biking can get their old bike out of the garage and get it ready to ride. I'm really excited to introduce our panel of 3 community leaders who are all working right here in Alameda County to generate excitement around biking in their communities. Starting from the left, we've got Ignacio Neri-Mora, who is a Bay Area native and Hayward resident who leads outreach for Eden Youth in Hayward. His work on the Hayward Rides program aims to improve mobility in neighborhoods that need it the most. Next up, growing up in Oakland, California, Saephan has experienced firsthand the transformative power of community youth programs like Drive Your Bike, an impact that continues to inspire his journey today. And finally, Phil Yip has been the bike bus leader at my daughter's elementary school for 5 years, and I think this might be one of the first times I've seen him without a helmet on. Phil is also operations manager at Bike East Bay. For those of you participating from outside of the Bay Area, just to give you an overall orientation, I wanted to share some context about where each of these programs are happening. So starting from the north in the city of Oakland is Phil's bike bus at Chabot Elementary. Cycles of Change works throughout Alameda County and focuses on East Oakland, and Bike Hayward is active further to the south in the city of Hayward. So with that context, I will hand it off to Phil to tell us about the Chabot bike bus.
Thanks, Tony. I just like biking. I like biking and eating dessert.
So that's a clip of Harry from our bike bus. And I have a lot of slides to present, so I'm just gonna like dive right into this. We've been running our bike bus for 5 years. Harry saw us on the street and he asked his mom to get in touch, and so then he joined. He brings this amazing energy, as you saw in the clip. And the reason why I wanted to lead with that is I started 5 years ago just wanting to get my kid to school, and now I'm on the road talking to Harrison about dessert and chocolate babka. So it's been an amazing ride. So yeah, about me. I've been doing the bike bus for 5+ years at Chabot Elementary. I'm also operations manager at Bike East Bay for my day job. And we are a car-free family, so we primarily bike and take public transit to get around. So this is a picture of my daughter, Addie here, and this is the reason why we're doing this. She, as you can see in the picture, she's pretty adept at handling a bike. She had been from an early age because we started her pretty early. And our ride to school is like 1.7 miles. So we planned to bike to school, and I had these 3 goals. One is I wanted to bike to school, but the other 2 were I wanted to be able to ride with friends and I wanted the ride to feel safe. And so to figure out how to do that, I did some searching online. I found out about Safe Routes to School because of that. And we started kindergarten during lockdown year, but by first grade, we were able to be back in person school. And we still had slow streets in Oakland at the time, which I miss dearly. And I wanted to have like this big old international walk and roll school day when I found out about it. So I signed up as a parent champion with Safe Routes to School. Um, there's an amazing bike train toolkit, which I followed pretty closely. It was kind of a giant effort, and there were a lot of challenges. I didn't know um, how to talk to people at school. I didn't know what the channels were. There's a volunteer who was going to help out that fell through, but we figured out, we made it happen, and we had like a great first walk and roll school day. And it was in the future, it was or sorry, in years after that, it was also good. We had pretty good enrollment in the bike bus. We got local electeds like John Bowders, Dan Kelb, Zach Unger to join. But see the other videos on social media. I wanted to have like 100 kids riding, and we never really got that. Sorry, next slide, please. And so, but looking back, I realized maybe it wasn't necessary to have like 100 people on a bike bus because we already had something that was amazing. We had stronger, more confident kids. We had deep community connections, and we had many mornings full of joy. And in talking to some of the other parents who ride the bike bus, what we found is that the bike bus is kind of the center of all three of those. So in this picture here, that's Charlotte with the pink backpack in front. Her dad Sean is behind her on the cargo bike, and her brother Wally is behind him. Um, we've got one hill to get to school. It's not too bad, but for a kid, it can be daunting. At the beginning of the school year, Charlotte was a passenger on the back of that cargo bike, and in the fall, she learned how to ride. She got on her own pedal bike, but at first, she didn't want to ride all the way up the hill. She'd stop and she'd walk with her dad. But after two or three bike buses, she gained the strength, and now she's charging up the hill. And also, it doesn't hurt to be riding with a friend who can distract you with fun conversation. And her parents know that she can handle it now. Next slide, please. Margot on the left in the pink vest, similar situation. She started on the back of a cargo bike. She was pretty wobbly her first couple of rides, but she was surrounded by adults and friends who could give her guidance and protect her from the cars on the street. Because we don't have protected bike lanes everywhere yet, but being part of the bike bus allows kids like Margot to have the freedom to make mistakes in a safe space and learn from them. One of the other awesome things is that we've seen these kids get stronger together. They've kind of grown up together, riding together. Mila, who's in the green sweater on the bottom, I remember the first day when she took her hand off in the handlebar for the first time. I'm also a bike instructor, so I was trying to teach her how to do a turn signal, but she was scared to take her hand off the handlebar. And she did for like a fraction of a second, and it was like a huge deal for her. And obviously now, she's old enough, she's figured it out, she can do it with ease. But these three kids, Addie, Mila, Tara, they've had 5 years of practicing their bike skills together. And that's also 5 years of morning conversations and silly jokes, which leads to the next slide, which is just the bike bus brings joy. This is a moment that one of our other parents captured, and there are tons of moments like this on every bike bus. And because of this, kids experience joy and movement together. We add to that by bringing a bubble machine, and we have music. Kids arrive at school happy. And the cool thing is this isn't just for the kids on the bike bus, but this extends to people off of the bike too. You can see here we're lining up for high fives. That's Nyla and Ronan. And also, like, we'll pass by people walking their dog, and they smile and they cheer as we ride past. And so, yeah, that's one of the special things is it's not only about the kids riding, it's about the community. Because we do this together, because we're in the community, we have a lot of positive, repetitive interactions. You can see here in this picture, Max is the little kid in the orange sweater. and he's handing my daughter a bike to school day card. He doesn't even go to our school yet, and they only know each other because of the bike bus. And so we're seeing these relationships grow over time on bikes just because we're going to school together. Since we bike to school, we don't use the drop-off line, so we have a couple extra minutes to hang out and chat. And over the years, those minutes really add up. We get to know students, parents, teachers, and staff. We help kids lock up if they're having trouble. We help the custodian close the school gate in the morning, and we talk about volunteer help. So it really helps build school community also. And then outside of school, this is Tom on the unicycle. He joins just to add a fun element to it. He sometimes brings his music trailer. Erica on the right, on the red bike with the trailer, she works at the library. She has nothing to do with our bike bus other than she takes the time out of her morning. She leaves for work early just so she can ride with the kids. And she's like a local celebrity to them. Like you can bring like the mayor, nobody cares if they're like 6 years old, but you see the librarian and that's like a big deal. And finally, we also try to bring what we do to the community as a whole. We joined the Pothole Challenge, where we tried to work with the city to report potholes that could cause injury on the streets. You can see here one of the kids is marking the pothole, and the city fixed them. It was a great day of service. And to me, all this confidence, joy, and community building really reinforces the fact that the kids belong in our communities. Kids deserve to take up space on the street and have conversations about dessert just while going to school. And so we're really thankful for the support that Safe Routes has provided. You can see, well, there's obviously all the programming and outreach that you heard a little bit about before, and um, people from the bike mobile are on the left. They help fix up bikes. People are on the right. You can see Adrian, who's joined a couple of our bike buses. Really appreciate you helping coordinate our school among many others. And if anybody is curious in the future, I have a slide with ride details and logistics that I can talk about later. But thank you very much for the opportunity to talk today.
Thanks so much, Phil. Amazing. It's so exciting to see so much joy happening in the community, and I can attest to just how fun participating in the bike bus is. Up next is going to be Sun with Cycles of Change.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, again, my name is San with Cycles of Change. A little bit about Cycles of Change itself. It's a really not that old, but 1998 is when the program started at a after-school program called Roosevelt Middle School. At the time, it was all enrichment program, and the study showed that around after school time, that's when like most kids tend to get into trouble in the East Bay, and so they put a lot of funding into enrichment program between 3 to 6 when the sun set, and out of that program, Cycles of Change was born, and we've been taking youth and young adults all over the East Bay in terms of the type of programming that we do have at Cycles of Change. And surprisingly, we work with a lot of you guys too, like Bike East Bay and like community bike shops and Bike Mobile and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to see a lot of the faces here with links to your names and so on. So I really admire that. And I kind of been sheltering myself into this type of space, but I think recognizing the type of work that we've been doing and also like the work that I've been doing, I think that this is a really healthy environment for me to like just show up and show what Cycles does. We also partner with the California, what's it called? California Field School. And that what we do there is we take kids along the coast, ride and explore the native of California, like between the Gold Rush and like the Sierras and stuff like that, just learning about the histories as far as taking young people to ride to the capital, but ride for a reason. And that was a recent one. But anyways, I'm gonna dive a little bit about the Drive Your Bike program with the Safe Routes to School program. So what we do there, I was just thinking about like I was like, wait, I don't know if I do like specific dates around like biking to school. And so I've been doing a lot of day-to-day stuff and with the program itself and micromanaging the program itself, but I overlooked that we do it every month. We do bike to school day, and what that looks like is that we prep our students in letting students and schools know that when we show up to their school, that this is a time for you to like learn how to ride, and also not just learn how to ride, but you can also bring your personal bike and learn all the tips. And like as young people, they tend to grow and outgrow the bike, and so we give them lessons, teach them how to ride and so on. But I'm just gonna yeah, go into the drive your bike program and what that looks like. So next slide, please. So a little quick overview. The program prepared students for to ride safely to schools and in the communities. And this is a hands-on experience and learning. And so what that means is we switch away from classroom setting and we move into the blacktop, and then we do everything from lane drills to first-time riders and stuff like that. And it's taught by our educators, which are two-third, I believe, two-third LCI instructors, certified LCI instructor. And this image here, I just want to highlight. This is a student who is in a special individual training, and during the time when we're teaching this program, this individual didn't know how to ride, but by the time within the 3 day mark, the 3 day period, the 3 days program, the students was able to start rolling and riding their bikes. So it was very special. So yeah, next slide. So essential skills taught are safety checks, of course. So students learn how to fit for a helmet, and some of the tools that we use is obviously we bring the helmets and model it, but we also name a lot of things around, like when we go to elementary, we see a lot of students with just the foam and not the plastic part, and we mention all the details around like how important it is to have like proper gear and what that looks like and so on. So yeah, again, we cover lane drills, lesson around braking, shifting, obstacle avoidance, and then after that, we also instruct the students about lane position and how to change and make a safe left-hand turn. And most importantly, I think that as a young rider, and as a student, students are a little bit more smaller in profile, so they become hidden from drivers and stuff like that. So we encourage students how to be predictable, how to be visible, rather that is vest or just lane position, and those are some of the tools that we encourage young people as they ride to school. So next, yeah. So yeah, so we work with K to 12, and they all have different types of lesson. In terms of 6 to 12 graders, it's a 3 day program. And for the K to 5, it's a 1 day rodeo program style. And what that looks like, it's just a condensed version of a 3 day program. And the rodeo style, we draw mock cities, streets on the ground, and then the students get to ride around. There's 2 different learning space. First-time riders are first people who know how to ride, and they're really good at riding. They get to use the road and intersections and so on. The really cool thing about this program is it fit seamlessly with the teacher's schedule with the physical education. So we will go from period 1 to 5 or 1 to 6, and we'll teach it with the physical education teacher, and it's great. And some the equipment, in terms of equipment and all the stuff, we bring all the tools, kits, helmets, bikes. So if a student doesn't have access to a bike, then we have one ready for them to use. And these bikes are serviced by us. So like after it gets in use, it comes out of service, goes to a warehouse, get wrenched on, and then it goes back out. So it's a lot of logistics to make it happen. But the really amazing work is, yeah, like a lot of community bike shops or neighborhood really get inspired by this type of work. And so all of our bikes are donated, and we try to use name brand bikes as like Specialized, Trek, and so on. So we try to avoid department store bike as it breaks down and it doesn't give people that same riding feeling as a high quality bike that is. So we try to use those bikes, but it's all, again, all donation based. And we have a really dedicated instructor on how, like our instructor are really dedicated and patient. So we really work with the students, and it's all hands off again. Like we don't have our instructor like holding, like if you imagine if a student's riding a bike, learning how to ride back, you can like imagine like how the advertisement is where an adult will hold the back of the seat of a student and run along and push along the student or push along the kid. We don't do none of that. It's all about learning how to ride, learning how to balance themselves and so on. So it's all hands-on for the individual. And for us, we just like give instruction, clear instruction to the students so they can, ride. And yeah, so these are the high school students at Oakland Tech here learning about how to fit for a bike properly, and they're all fitted for a helmet and so on. So yeah, we can go to the next slide. So we do reach a huge number of students. So in 2023 and 2024 school year, we serve about 5,000 students. And last school year, we serviced about close to 7,000 students. And this year, close to 6,000. And it's still counting because the school year isn't over yet. So we still have a few more students to reach. So yeah. So we can move to the next slide. So yeah, this is, I'll leave you guys with this our mission of the program. So Drive Your Bike program does more than teach students how to ride to school today. It shaped the responsibility, confidence commuter of tomorrow by instilling critical traffic safety and situation awareness and defensive riding habit. We bridge the gap between students, rider, and the future adult commuter. These lessons build a foundation of a lifetime healthy, sustainable, independent travel, transforming predictable students into safe adult, capable adult road user. So I leave you with this because some of the time what we do here at Cycles is that we will have students come back to us either after high school. Like one of the most memorable one is a student went to Davis. They came back to us and reached out to us and say, "Hey, I really like biking. Davis is a biking school. Can you provide me a bike, or can I have a bike or something like that?" And with this type of program and like touching young people in terms of like they're continue to wanted to explore alternative transportation besides fossil fuel, that they wanted to look for green space. So check. Ooh, my throat. Excuse me. So yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sun. Really exciting to see what you've been up to. And with that, Ignacio, it's all yours.
Thank you, Shannon. Nice, and thank you, Phil. That was amazing work that you guys do. I'm Ignacio Neri-Mora, the outreach manager for Eden Youth, and with that, we bring the Hayward Rides program in collaboration with Mikey's Bay, the city of Hayward, and us, Eden Youth. Um, so the Hayward Rides program design is to provide residents with access to free bicycles, helping to make cycling a more accessible and affordable, sustainable transportation option. Uh, the moment that's our goal, what Son and Phil are doing out there in their community, and we're barely getting started. So Thinkonorn is getting to that point, right? So the program aims to support Hayward residents specifically, especially those disadvantaged in low-income communities, and the focus is of for the Hayward Rides is the focus is teenagers by providing bicycles and essential safety equipment. Hayward Rides is one of the largest municipal bike programs in the county at the moment, and Hayward Rides is part of the Safe Routes to Active Transportation for Schools and Underserved Communities in Hayward. Uh, the project is funded through the California Air Resource Board's CARB, Clean Mobility in Schools and Grant. The program aims to promote the healthy and sustainable transportation habits and foster vibrant cycling community where students feel a sense of belonging while biking around the city. So the Hayward Rides had a soft launch back in September 2025. And with the Hayward Rides, it does have an end until like early 2027. But I think co-creating that culture will forever live on, right? So just the same as what Son and Phil are doing. Next slide, please. With me, how I got into the bike or Hayward Rides program is through a lot of Hayward transportation projects. Um, Hayward is advancing multiple active and road safety projects to improve traffic flow, protect pedestrians and cyclists, and upgrade local roadways. As you can see in the image, most of cyclists that we see in Hayward are they ride in the on the sidewalks, not on the actual bike lanes. And we have done surveys on their behavior or their experience, and most of them just decide to they feel more safer on the sidewalks. And with that, we don't blame them. I did it once, and oof, I'd rather just kind of be on the sidewalk too as well. So it's what this is the current key transportation and streetscape initiative include mentioning the projects that I have so far. So some of them I'm part of the community-based transportation plan steering committee. Our drive and efforts to improve mobility for low income and again and underrepresented communities through collaboration between residents, organizations, and transportation agencies. So with our launch is providing our focus is to equity, providing communities facing transportation inequities, including 13 census tracts in Hayward. One of the projects that I'm currently working on is the Hayward High Injury Network Safety Plan. Focuses on three main corridors, A Street, B Street, and Tennyson Road. If you're familiar with Hayward, we had incidents from smaller, minor incidents to fatal traffic collisions, and this is where our Hayward Rides kind of leads into. So with the Alameda County, the city of Hayward and Winter, we're consulting or partnering with community organizations to lead community engagement and improve our mobility efforts for residents. And then with another one is we're collaborating or doing another project here in Hayward for the East Bay Greenway multi-modal Hayward segment, where the East Bay Greenway multi-modal project aims to improve and walking and biking connections between downtown Hayward and South Hayward Park Station by addressing safety and accessibility challenges. Um, so with that, it all aligns perfectly well with our Hayward rights, right? Making sure that our streets are safe for kids, students, family, community members feel safer on the streets, either walking or bicycling, and that leads into our Hayward rights program. Next slide, please. Right there, it's that's me on the right side. On the left, you'll see George Foster. He's part of the city transportation division, and one of our youth members from our clubhouse, our after school space. And again, with the city of Hayward and collaboration with Bikey Spay, or my part of the Hayward Rest program is promoting and the program community outreach and engagement promoting Hayward Rides and with the local community during events. Some of our events from Eden Youth or participating in well-attended existing events could be from the city, could be from local organizations, and so forth. Um, and with the help of our outreach team that consists of three promotoras, our community health workers or trusted messengers with decades of experience. They're really well known here in the city of Hayward. They're able to connect and inform the community within their own primary language about our about our amazing program. Another of our close partners is the we're collaborating with is the Hayward Unified School District. So the thing with them is providing our flyers, providing most of our outreach materials for them, and they are just since I am a Hayward resident. I have my kids in the Hayward Unified School District, so I get those emails and I get those notifications too as well. So it's amazing to see that our work is being shared with the community. And HUSD shared a variety of resources to families and teens. So I think our specifically with our school, we do share not just our Hayward Rides program, but different resources and services because we are focusing on the low income and disadvantaged communities. So that HUSC is a huge partner. So I was so with the bike giveaways and accessories. So we're going to be providing again just with the Hayward Rides, we're providing students with 2,000 bikes, and they're all free. These bikes are from the first time I saw them, I was amazed. I checked them out. They were amazing. So I like, oh, how can I myself get one, right? But I think with these, seeing the faces like, and expression from the kids was amazing. Not just receiving a bike, but going into the whole kits from helmets, self-repair kits, and locks and so forth. And having a set budget for this is amazing to see. So 75% from these 2,000 bikes are strictly for teenagers, and the rest of the percentage is going to either youth and adults. And not with that, and also including that we're going to be providing bike repairs accessible for the community too, and for those members that receive a bike. And again, collaboration with Bikey Spay, hosting those bike repairs and events, either on our events or local events from the city, could be in the farmers market and so forth. So that's amazing to see. Um, next slide. And we have here our one of our youth members that kind of joined the Bikies Bay team as well. So I think it's on our end since we do serve our youth, we do serve different community members out here. Is connecting them to different entrepreneurs and different organizations. And I think it's uh here one of our youth members was interested in engineering, so kind of connected them with Alejandro. You see Alejandro on the far right, those two youth members in the middle. So connecting them to see they build skill sets. Then from there, it's connecting them to see, hey, where can you use these skill sets for? And Bikey Bay was the one of our partners. So, and I think that is Bike Hayward is along with Bikey Bay. Phil, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like a chapter between amongst you guys, right?
Yeah, yeah. Bike Hayward is a newly fiscally sponsored organization. So
Thank you, thank you. So I don't want to I don't want to skip Alejandro and his and Bike Hayward. Amazing work what they do. Again, it takes a whole village to support a youth, and again, it does take it takes a lot of great public leaders to this phenomenal work. They provide bike education and maintenance. That's their main topic. That's where I kind of, hey Alejandro, bike is big. That's all you. But I think it's providing those collaborations is amazing. So collaborating with experts, Bike East Bay, providing workshops and certified trained mechanics instructors to teach basic maintenance and repairs like flat repair, brake adjustments, and so forth to youth and community members. Bike repairs services again, they're not just for youth, but also for the community. So they're in local events, our events, and city events as well. They're what else? It's just an ongoing promotion for this bike education and maintenance, and with that is definitely again support with the support of the city and support of Bike East Bay. Next page. And here is that's me with Alejandro from Mike Hayward, and on the right side you'll see could couldn't couldn't get everybody, but there's more people on the right supporting with this bike repair. As you can see, there's a need here in Hayward, whereas when it comes to bike repairs, not everybody is able to get their bike repaired. It's getting youth involved, getting the community involved, and see how we can expand ourselves in collaborating with other people or other organizations, including those volunteers too as well. Our youth members started with just an interest of, hey, how can I support you? And from there they started building that connection. So Bike East Bay has host all these bike activities, promote bike culture within the city of Hayward. We welcome ideas, additional initiatives to support the goal. creating again co-creating this community events and working together to increase participation amongst youth, teens, families, and the greater community. Again, some of the bikes activities that Bikeys Bay host are bike relays and community events, encouraging people to bike or cycle to events, farmers market, to local events that we host and so forth. Then they do bike rodeo for the families, fun little activities for them to enjoy or even to learn, right? Then again, bike repairs. Bike repairs are it's the need. That's where we have the need in our end is to make it accessible for sure. And I think something that I really want to do is doing those bike buses, just as simply as what Son and Phil do in their own communities, have it here in Hayward too as well. Although again, the Hayward Rides program will conclude in early 2027, but the bike culture is we would like to kind of continue that for sure. As seen in social rides, social rides too as well. Whereas where me and Alejandro are our first social ride together, it was amazing to see. I took my son. I thought it was gonna be a 5 mile, 4 mile, but it ended up being a 13 mile cycle. So it was funny to see my son like I'm tired, even not even halfway. I'm like I'm tired too, but let's keep going. Push on, push on. So it's a thing with this is it's fun to see, have to fun to get everybody involved, and no one likes to ride alone. So let's ride along for sure. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much to all three of our panelists. I am very inspired by all the work that you're doing. We have some great questions coming in, but I'll start with just one or two that I'm curious about. What motivated you to get involved with promoting active transportation in your communities? Was there like a specific need or event? Or like a moment that inspired action, or was this just something you've always wanted to do? Phil, can you start on that one?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, I touched on it a little bit during the presentation, but we just wanted to get our kid to school. We were planning to bike, but it's more like Ignacio just said, it's more fun with friends. And so we wanted to make that happen. And so I think that was the initial impetus. And like it's our school's a community school. 70% of students live within like a mile and a half of school. So distance isn't an issue. There are other barriers for sure. And so I wanted to try to figure out how to address them.
Son?
Yeah. For me personally, I grew up in Oakland, and we had the bike program there. And I think what was amazing at the time is being able to cover all these mileage with a bike and not by car. And I think what resonated with me was the bike tour. I didn't know nothing about bike touring, and so I think that Cycles was able to introduce that, and then being able to ride, and then after that like the expansion. I think the founders, and I think like Rio from the LCI they were the one that actually kind of like initiate the Safe Route to School program. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Safe Route to School program. I don't know what's going on. Excuse me for a second. I'll come back.
Okay. Ignacio?
Yeah, I think what got me started is before getting into bikes was the I know we with the city of Hayward, there's been a lot of transportation projects. So that's how we got involved in starting the Hayward Rides program. So that hit really close because within where we are here in Tennyson, there was a fatal incident where some of our committee members were fatal passed away. So that hit to heart, especially here in the community that they're really close. The promotoras or community health workers are really well known and within the community, and to share that and to see that here happening is that we had to make a change. And I think making those streets safe for community members, for our youth and teens to walk and cycle. And I think it's that's how we started getting involved into the Hero Rest program. And see if how can we make those changes. And I think with those social rights, again, collaboration with Mikey's Bay, having those social rights together and seeing people that once they see us in a group, they do start to slow down and they merge to the other lane. So I think having those changes here in Hayward, we definitely need that. And creating that bike culture here in Hayward is amazing. As mentioned, I think it's I I think Phil mentioned my son lives a couple of miles away from his school, so the first when it was bike to whatever day, it was a 3 mile ride for me and my son, and he was the only one sweating, and others are like, hey, Dad, it's fine, but I think next time can we just ride me like we could do it at least once a week or so forth. So we'll see, but I think it's again, and it takes how Phil started is it takes public leaders to actually do this. And once people see like, hey, can I join you? So just go start doing it, start biking. It's something new for me, so happy to do so. It's fun. It's fun.
Great. Thank you. I have a question about challenges too. What challenges did you each face setting up these programs? And if anything, what would you do differently the next time around? Ignacio, let's start with you.
Uh, the biggest challenge for us is the city. Um, it's me and three promotoras, and with promotoras, it's their their focus was at the beginning of the Hayward Rides program was something else due to deliverables and fundings. It's definitely because of capacity, but now that we're getting along and getting this Hayward Rides program started again, I have to mention Nike Spay a lot because they're truly a huge partnership, a huge support system. Um, so with them, creating those bike educations and bike repairs, I wouldn't even know how to do fix a flat tire. So it's more getting them. So I think definitely the capacity. And if you know that you can't do it yourself, is reach out to someone who are the experts, Bikey's Bay. So I think us reaching out to Bikey's Bay and for them like Hayward, having that support system, those collaborations is getting that started bit by bit. So
Sounds good. Phil?
Yeah, I think maybe one of the challenges is just it takes time and effort, and so like the volunteer model for doing a bike bus is really tricky. In addition to that, there's lots of other reasons like street safety, just access to bikes and so on, which is, I mean, kind of, to be honest, like that's kind of what led me to my work here at Bike East Bay and also ties into the work that we're doing with Eden Youth in Bike Hayward. But like that's why drew me to like bike education classes. The Bike Mobile has been an amazing resource for helping fix up bikes. And as Ignacio mentioned, there's like the Bike Hayward, or there's a pop-up at the Hayward Farmers Market to help address that. So a lot of the challenges we have solutions for, but it's a matter of like implementing them. And then to get back to like the volunteering part of it, part of the Hayward Rides program actually I think should involve trying to get a bike bus running in Hayward. So we're going to see if what does a funded bike bus look like? What does it look like if you can actually give stipends to volunteers? Because that is a legit real barrier. And so we're hoping to make something successful out of that.
Amazing. Son, what
Okay.
challenges did you face?
Yeah, hopefully my voice is here. I'm gonna try to use my inside voice. I think I'm so used to like being outside and try to project my voice, and so I'm like, so yeah, some of the challenges that we face is that the county is so wide from Alameda all the way down to Fremont to Alameda to Livermore, and so like convincing one thing is convincing a school to like have your students to participate in this, and then also like the barrier of getting the parents to get involved with like allowing the students to do this type of work. Um, but the biggest challenge is for us, since most of our educator doesn't use cars as a main transportation, we use bike as well. So like working the period of school and having to like show up an hour early to set up what 50 bikes coming out of the locker room or store location, and then teaching long periods between like just like from 7 in the morning all the way to like 4. And so those are some of the internal challenges for us as staff, but the main challenges is just trying to convince, or not convince, but like just working with the school with their schedule and so on, because there's so many barriers with like each school district has different type of things that you have to like manage. And so I think that's one of the biggest challenge currently.
Um, we have about 5 minutes left. I'm curious from each of you, what tips would you offer others trying to increase participation in either Bike Month, Bike to School Day, or just active transportation kind of long running programs that you've created? Sam, let's start with you.
Yeah, for sure. I think what Phil mentioned a lot of time is building confidence rider, and that's one thing that really increased rider. And I saw the question around like what's the gap and what's some of the challenges. Like in Alameda Wood Middle School, for example, we serviced last year and this year, we saw a bike increase of like 500%. Like the ratio of bike was outgrowing the bike rack that they had there at the school, where we will go to Ochoa and Hayward or Winton, where it's a different type of biking culture there, where there's a trend. Like they like to ride the single speed and do wheelies and like ride and mob the streets and stuff like that, and which is cool. It's just a different type of riding style. But when we're there, we try to emphasize safety, like being predictable, and like trying to instill those type of awareness with them, so then that way they're not just like riding and not being aware of their surrounding. So I think it's the challenges and like encouraging students to ride depends on the microclimate of like where each individual student live. Where yeah, so I think that's something that some of the things that we look for. Yeah, so check.
Great. Ignacio, what tips would you offer others trying to start up a program?
Um, Tips would be definitely collaborate for sure. If you don't have the capacity, collaborate with someone. With volunteers, if you're looking for volunteers, simple as what Phil did. Start riding your bike to certain places or even to school if you have kids. Start doing those actions, and then the people will eventually, hey, you know what? Get the courage into, hey, I see that you do this every day. Can I join you? Yeah, come along. And it's just starting those actions. Simply as that. And I think with since we have a group of youth and we have a great partnership with the school district, with our Hayward Unified School District. It's we send our flyers. So it's I think with that, and since we are really well known in certain schools and elementary, middle school, and high schools, is seeing how can we even do some type of tabling in their school events. So it's having being present too as well. So yeah.
And Bill, what's
Yeah,
your advice?
I would mirror what Ignacio just said is like the outreach really works. And it takes a lot of effort, but it really works. So if you can, then do it, it'll pay off. And then also to add to what Ignacio said is just be a consistent presence. Like the video of Harry in the beginning of my slides, we wouldn't have that if he didn't just see us out riding. So it's just like if you can't put the time into the outreach, just be consistent, do what you do, and do it regularly.
Amazing. Um, so I am pretty sure that we could talk all day about this, but we are just about winding down. So I'm going to try to wrap us up. I'd really like to thank our three panelists for their participation today and telling the stories of how they're building momentum in their communities. I'd also like to thank all three of them on behalf of their communities for what they're doing to build up that support and love for biking. I think our panelists said it well that when you start someone young loving to bike, loving to walk, it really can become like a lifelong passion. So to wrap up, we have a quick feedback form that you can access via the QR code that you see right on our screen. This is going to help us plan even more exciting events in the future. And with that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our panelists, and go forth and try to take some of the lessons learned here in your own communities at home. Thanks so much.